So you have to preach the resurrection if you're going to preach the gospel, because largely this is the theme going through the New Testament, that we look forward to the resurrection. The wages of sin being death, and therefore we're all destined to die because we've all inherited a body. Down through the ages, the genes were passed on as coming from Adam and Eve, who originally weren't meant to die. So somehow or other they were given a body that wasn't meant to die. So you'd had Adam, he failed in his mission on earth. Jesus came along and they called Jesus the second Adam. Well, Jesus, unlike Adam, fulfilled his mission on earth. And in this same sense, he reversed what Adam had done, in that in Adam we all die. In Jesus Christ, we all live. What does this mean? Jesus Christ came back to life 3 days after his death, and he was resurrected, came back to life. And so he, being the first fruits, offers us the same, in that we too can come back to life at the second coming of Jesus Christ. Hence you have the resurrection. Well, the resurrection, what it means is you're going to have, in this same sense, a new body. This body is a mortal body, and it's not immortal. But your new body, the new you, the new body, that this body is somehow or other going to change, as it's put, we shall be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye. Well, how does Paul know we would be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye? Well, we have an example that Jesus gave when he raised Lazarus from the dead. Well, Lazarus had been dead 4 days and he clearly stunk. Now, one of the Mary and Martha were kind of girlfriends of Jesus. And these one of these would say, look, Jesus, you can't help, I believe you can raise him from the dead, but he stinketh. He's been dead 4 days. But even so, I know you're the Son of God. And I believe in the resurrection, that somehow or other we're going to have, in this same sense, a new body. I believe that even now you can raise Lazarus from the dead. So Jesus just simply spoke the words and says, Lazarus, come forth. And in that moment, in that twinkling of an eye of time, Lazarus came out of his tomb and was alive again after being dead 4 days, to the point where he was stinketh. So his body was deteriorating, and he clearly stung, as a body does when it is decaying and dying. So that was one sample or example of the resurrection. And then Jesus said after that, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. Now, this is the hope that the Bible gives us of the resurrection. So it's kind of clear from this that we are, in this same sense, a spirit that lives in a body. And one day this body, of course, is going to die, and the spirit will leave this body, as it says in Ecclesiastes. The spirit will return to God who gave it. So interesting words that Paul would sometimes come up with regarding the resurrection. And of course, this can sound like pretty corny talk to a lot of people, the rapture, the resurrection. It all sounds very religious. And you kind of try to get your head around it. So what you're saying is in layman's terms, which he sometimes put it in layman's terms, which seem to help, talking about it in a different light, in a different way, and putting all this in a new light rather than the old light and the religious connotations to that light. So many now talking about the rapture, it sounds like rupture, it doesn't exactly grab people. And even when you talk about the resurrection, people sum up religious scenes at Easter and all these religious ceremonies, and the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and even graveyard scene, the hope of the resurrection. It all sounds very sobering and very religious and very much along the tones of an organ at a church, which has a way of summoning up that kind of religious spirit. So how do you get out of the religious spirit and put this in the right light? Well, obviously you're going to stick exactly to the scriptures, and it's interesting to put it in a new light. But it's the same light. You can put it in a new light, but the same light. That doesn't mean you're going over to another light. We all have our different ways of expressing or shining our light. Let your light so shine before men, it says, that men may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Well, every one of us, God willing, is a precious stone, and in God's eyes, the soul, your spirit in your body, is priceless. You're a priceless soul. And therefore, in this same sense, you're like a gem in God's eyes, a diamond or a gem, whichever you like. And diamonds and stones and gems and precious stones can be of different colours. And so God, in this same sense, would pour down his spirit upon these various people that he's created, which in God's eyes are like precious stones and gems, and each shining his light in the way that God created that person to shine their light. So one stone might give out a red light, another stone might give out a blue light, another stone might give out even a yellow or a purple light, or a blend of colours. So we all should be in God's spirit and God willing, expressing our individualistic light as coming from God. And this is what it's all about. We're all individuals.